The pigs were under this tarp this morning. Yeah. Yep, here they are. There's 1, 2, 3. There's 4.
Come on! I'm gonna get me.
Free range piglets.
Yeah.
Why don't you stand by Dexter?
This video is all about Dexters. Standing next to our Jersey cow.
Yeah. Where do they originate from?
Dexter Cattle originate in the Kerry region of Ireland, and they were first brought into the United States in 1905 and 1915, and they originate from basically small black feral cattle in mountainous regions in Ireland. So it's kind of fun to think about, you know, feral little cows wandering around. Our house was built in 1880, and to think, like, you know, there could be little cows crawling around in the environment, kind of fun to think about. But they were domesticated and, like I said, eventually brought to the United States. I guess there are some similarities to the Kerry breed, but they are two distinct breeds.
A Dexter, a good choice for a small farm or beginning farmers.
Well, since they originate from the basically harsh, sparse conditions in Ireland, they develop characteristics that make them very hardy and very efficient on grass. Their small size makes them easier on the environment, so especially with our kind of hilly backyard here, they're not trampling down and creating big huge ruts in the ground, causing erosion. So their efficiency on grass, they'll get very well marbled beef, and actually they can be on pretty poor pasture too and still have you know, good production compared to, you know, a 2,000-pound Angus, for example. They're not necessarily going to have the same amount of fat as an Angus, but the intramuscular marbling is going to be higher than an Angus on just grass. Dexters are considered a tri-purpose breed, meat, dairy, and actually for oxen. Some people still train them to pull little carts around, but
What a pretty girl.
colors.
Okay, awesome. How many colors are there?
So Dexters come in 3 different colors. Dun, red, which we don't have. Well, we have Killian, he's red, a red bull, and then black. There's probably the most common. But there's different kind of shades of dun. Buddy's in the shed there. He's more of a darker colored brown than these two here.
What makes Dexter cow milk special?
Well, Dexter cow milk on its own isn't necessarily special, but since they are a smaller breed cow, they will produce a high quality milk just like a Jersey does. Dexter milk can have as much as 4% butter fat, which I guess will rival that of a Jersey cow. But what's nice about it is, for the size of the cow, they produce a surprisingly high amount of milk for that size animal, up to 2.5 gallons of milk. We're breeding our dairy line for A2A2 milk. A2A2 protein is a beta casein protein, which the casein protein is actually the majority of the protein in the milk, and it's basically a different folding of the protein structure, which is said to be more easily digestible than A1 protein. Since most people who say they're lactose intolerant are self-diagnosed, it could be that it is a incompatibility with the A1 casein protein, so it might be worth a try to try A2 milk and maybe that's the issue over a lactose intolerance. Or go to your doctor and get tested for lactose intolerance, and then
That's probably the best. Dexters are a pretty uncommon breed of cattle. Why is that?
so the large-scale cattle operations are, they like the big breeds, the Angus, the Herefords that'll give you, 2,000-pound, carcass or cow. So they kind of fell out of favor with raising them as a beef cow. That and the reducing numbers of small family farms kind of led to their not necessarily extinction, but a decrease in the number of Dexters in the country. But with a lot of conservation efforts, the Dexters are becoming more and more popular, which is why one of the reasons why we have them too. They are kind of rare and they are kind of cute because they're kind of small. We have some visitors here.
When you're breeding your Dexters, are there any other traits other than the A2 milk you're breeding for?
So we are breeding for polled cattle as well now. Killian's going to be leaving the farm one way or the other here in January. He's a horned cow, and all his offspring would have horns, unless bred to a homozygous polled heifer or cow, which Jolene is. But we want all our calves to be polled, so we're buying a homozygous polled bull. So all of our calves, even Greta's calves, would be polled, and it wouldn't matter if it's a bull or a heifer calf. All of them would be polled. To help explain this, we'll take a look at a couple of hypothetical breedings. If we have a polled bull and a horned cow, a polled bull can either have two dominant polled genes or a dominant and a recessive form of the gene. So if we look at the homozygous polled, designated by uppercase P, and a horned cow, designated by lowercase pp, we can see that all the offspring would have a dominant P in their genes. Therefore, all of those offspring would be polled. If we have a heterozygous polled, so a uppercase P and a lowercase p, then we breed that cow, the bull, to a horned cow, lowercase p, lowercase p. That means that then half of the offspring will be polled and half of the offspring will be horned. It's thought that all of the polled Dexter cattle originate from one bull. That the semen was imported into the U.S. in the late 1990s. It was believed to be a brand new mutation because the grand dam of the bull did not have horns when it was born, which is impossible without a new mutation because both of the parents were horned cows. So two horned parents would give rise to horned offspring unless there is a new mutation.
Are there any other special breeding considerations?
So there are two lethal genetic mutations, thought to be unique to Dexter cattle. Lethal mutation meaning the calves are going to be stillborn. One's termed bulldog calf, which is a homozygous trait for chondrodysplasia. So I'll get into the genetics here more in a little bit. And then there's water babies, which is heterozygous for PHA or pulmonary hydroplasia anasarca.
You're the professor.
Yeah. But the bulldog trait's caused by, it's a form of dwarfism caused by the calf being heterozygous for
Homozygous.
no, the chondrodysplasia is heterozygous for the chondrodysplasia gene. So if the cow has one copy of the allele for chondrodysplasia, then they will have a short-legged trait characteristic. Basically, they'll be dwarf cows. Now they're short to begin with. Temple here is, I mean, she probably won't let me come too close to her, but she's maybe hip high on me. So.
And she's full grown.
And she's full grown. So a cow with chondrodysplasia would be even shorter than Temple there. All right, so the short-legged trait is typically a visible trait that you can see based off the leg structure, basically. Bulldog calves come about when you breed two short-legged cows together. So a short-legged bull, which would be heterozygous for the chondrodysplasia, and a short-legged cow, which would be heterozygous for chondrodysplasia. So there's a 25% chance that the cow would give birth to a bulldog calf, which basically, I'll show you a picture in the video here. But they're deformed, domed head, short muzzle, their tongue sticks out, but they're still born. There's no chance of them living past, birth. Basically, majority of the time they're miscarried. So well, that's something you need to look out for if you're into breeding the Dexters, is to watch out for the genetic abnormalities that could happen, which basically is a loss of time and loss of that calf for that period of time. Looking more closely at the chondrodysplasia genetics, here I have a picture of a short-legged cow on the left and a long-legged cow on the right. The genetically short-legged Dexters will be heterozygous recessive for chondrodysplasia, indicated by a big C, little c. So the little c would be the chondrodysplasia gene. The genetically long-legged would always be non-chondrodysplasia carriers, indicated by uppercase C, uppercase C. Genetic testing should be completed if the lineage is not known, since all Dexters are short and looks can be deceiving. Taking a look at a hypothetical breeding of two short-legged Dexter cattle, the short-legged meaning that they are positive for chondrodysplasia. The chondrodysplasia would be the recessive trait, so we have that indicated here with the big C, little c. The little c would be the recessive chondrodysplasia gene. In our Punnett square here, we have big C, little c by big C, little c. So our theoretical outcome of the offspring would be 25% long-legged, big C, 50% big C, little c, which would be short-legged, and a 25% chance of a bulldog, which would be little c, little c. And that trait there is the lethal genetic result. Therefore, it's very essential that the breeder knows the chondrodysplasia status of their cows when breeding, so they do not end up with a bulldog calf. So the other genetic disease that is lethal is PHA, which basically means swelling at birth and little or no lung tissue. So the calf is actually born swollen, which resembles what look like a cartoon. If you stuck like you see the cartoons with somebody puts a hose in the character's mouth and they swell up like a balloon. So they're swollen and again stillborn at birth. And that's a homozygous trait again. So if the sire and dam have a recessive trait for that, there could be a 25% chance that the calf would be born with that PHA, well, and perish.
So why did you choose to raise Dexters?
We're raising Dexters because we have 6 acres of land, and we want to have some cattle, and they do really well in small acreage. So we're able to move them around in the summer to different parts of the property here, with really not the best grass, and pasture, but supplement their feed with nice hay, and be able to have our cattle. And they're again easy on the land with our hills here. They're not tramping down and causing erosion and things like that. Their meat quality and milk production is another interest that we're breeding Dexters for. But then if we market Dexter beef, a lot of people don't have freezer space for a whole or half, Angus or Hereford cow. A Dexter steer will dress out at around maybe 350, 400 pounds. So you don't need a ton of freezer space for a whole Dexter cow. And then, the cuts are smaller, so some people, don't want a huge 12-ounce steak. You'll have smaller steaks, smaller cuts, and things like that. And again, they're small cows. They're kind of fun. They're different compared to our Queen Greta here. She's quite large but as friendly as can be. She's the friendliest cow that we have.
Yes.
But Kelsey will tell you more about a Jersey cow in another video.